Compelling introduction. Bibi, war will break everything, including you. And I'm not sure the world can afford another broken man with nuclear triggers. The silence in the Kremlin's chamber was suffocating. Vladimir Putin leaned forward, his piercing gaze locked onto Benjamin Netanyahu, the seasoned Israeli prime minister who is no stranger to high-stakes politics. But this conversation was different. Iran's nuclear program had shifted from intelligence chatter to global anxiety, and the leader of Russia had just thrown a sentence into the air that would ricochet through every capital from Washington to Tehran. This was not a war room. This was not a declaration. This was a final warning dressed in diplomacy, uttered in a gilded palace, beneath a chandelier that had seen more treaties than missiles. And in this frozen moment, two leaders who shaped history more often with shadows than with speeches stared across an ancient wooden table, deciding the future of fire. The Tehran equation. It started in whispers, like all great storms do. Not in gunfire, but in documents. Not in explosions, but in data. In the arid plains of central Iran, beyond the dusty homes and ancient bazaars, sat fortified structures the world called nuclear facilities. Natanz, Fordow, Iraq. Names that once meant geography now spelled threat. To Western observers, they were architectural anxieties, massive concrete shells veiled in barbed wire and patriotism. Inside, technicians in white coats calibrated centrifuges with expressions as calm as surgeons and as committed as soldiers. The nuclear program was Iran's great paradox, both a symbol of resistance and a subject of suspicion. In Jerusalem, every new IA report came like thunder. Netanyahu, now well into his political twilight, yet sharper than ever, consumed intelligence like scripture. The numbers, the timelines, the trajectories. Mossad operatives brought back photographs, intercepted calls, whispers from deep within Iranian labs. One particular photo, a simple image of uranium hexafluoride being transferred into IR, 6 centrifuges, haunted his thoughts. At night, he dreamed of mushrooms. Not the kind in forests, but the kind that erased cities. He walked alone sometimes by the ancient stone paths near the Knesset, talking to ghosts of past leaders. Golda, Rabin, even Begin. Would they have hesitated? One morning, he summoned his Security Council. The Americans are indecisive. The Saudis are silent. The Gulf is distracted. We are alone. If Iran reaches breakout capability, we will have no choice. Preemptive strike, someone whispered. Netanyahu didn't answer, but his eyes did. Then came the unexpected message. Moscow. Direct communication. Putin wanted to speak. Alone. Urgently. His aides protested. What good could possibly come from Russia? History, Netanyahu replied, is written by those who speak before they shoot. The Kremlin Conversation. The Kremlin in winter is a fortress of theater. Snow doesn't fall there, it performs. Lights don't glow, they shimmer like secrets. It was into this curated cold that Netanyahu arrived, draped in the weight of his nation's fears. Vladimir Putin greeted him with a smirk that said everything and nothing. You still like chess, Benjamin? Only when there's more than one board. The room was not ordinary. It was imperial. Carpets older than countries. Bookshelves lined with the grief of centuries. 2 men stood in it, but 100 years of politics stood with them. Putin poured 2 glasses of tea. No vodka. This was not celebration. He started without small talk. We both know the game, so let's speak in endgames. Iran will not stop unless it is spoken to in a language it respects. Logic, consequence, and sovereignty. Netanyahu cut in. They understand one language. Power. Putin nodded slowly. Which is why you're here. A long silence. Do you want to attack, Benjamin? Putin finally asked. Do you want to bomb their soil? Ignite their fury? Risk Hezbollah, Hamas, and Syria waking up together? Netanyahu didn't answer. The silence was his diplomacy. Or do you want to lead? Putin opened a folder. Inside were assessments, Russian, American, even stolen British ones. They painted a picture that was terrifying in clarity. Iran was close. Not months. Weeks. Maybe days. But also vulnerable. Sanctions failed. Spies got caught. Scientists died. Still they enrich, Putin said. But there is one lever unpulled. Respect. Netanyahu looked confused. Angry. Give them something to lose, Putin said softly. Offer a deal they would hate to abandon. Make the international stage attractive again. A place where they're not a cornered beast, but a reluctant partner. And if they refuse, Putin's tone dropped, then they lose Moscow. The sentence was surgical. Behind it implications: no Russian defense, no Chinese shield, no alternate economy. You're proposing, Netanyahu started. Diplomacy with a nuclear umbrella, Putin replied. My umbrella. Whispers through the wires. The world never heard the full conversation, but it felt it. The tremor in oil prices, the silence in Iranian state television, the measured statement from Washington. All options remain on the table, but diplomacy is preferred. Israel did not strike. Instead, back channels lit up like constellations. Oman hosted whispers. Russia sent envoys. The Chinese even offered quiet encouragement. Inside Iran, the supreme leader received intelligence reports that chilled even him. Russia had shifted. He summoned his negotiators. You will not sign weakness, he warned, but you will not ignore isolation. And so began the thaw. Slow, ugly, imperfect, but real. By spring, a new framework emerged. Not the JCPOA, something smaller, regional, a pact of proximity. Russia, Iran, Israel, and neutral states. Limited inspections, freezing enrichment, unfreezing humanitarian channels. No handshakes, but no bombs. In Tel Aviv, Netanyahu addressed his nation. We remain vigilant. But today, for the first time in many years, we are not at the edge of war. We are at the edge of reason. In Moscow, Putin told his staff, sometimes the bullet you don't fire is the one history remembers. Whispers through the wires. The world never heard the full conversation, but it felt it. The tremor in oil prices, the silence in Iranian state television, the measured statement from Washington. All options remain on the table, but diplomacy is preferred. Israel did not strike. Instead, back channels lit up like constellations. Oman hosted whispers. Russia sent envoys. The Chinese even offered quiet encouragement. Inside Iran, the supreme leader received intelligence reports that chilled even him. Russia had shifted. He summoned his negotiators. You will not sign weakness, he warned, but you will not ignore isolation. And so began the thaw. Slow, ugly, imperfect, but real. By spring, a new framework emerged. Not the JCPOA, something smaller, regional, a pact of proximity. Russia, Iran, Israel, and neutral states. Limited inspections, freezing enrichment, unfreezing humanitarian channels. No handshakes, but no bombs. In Tel Aviv, Netanyahu addressed his nation. We remain vigilant. But today, for the first time in many years, we are not at the edge of war. We are at the edge of reason. In Moscow, Putin told his staff, sometimes the bullet you don't fire is the one history remembers. Jerusalem's cracks. Netanyahu stood before the mirror in his Jerusalem residence. Behind him, aides whispered about coalition fragility. Before him, his own reflection seemed to ask, do you want to be remembered for war or wisdom? The Israeli Knesset was growing restless. Ultranationalists demanded immediate retaliation against Iran's provocations. Moderates saw Putin's diplomatic overture as a rare window of opportunity. Yair Lapid, opposition leader, broke the political silence with a fiery speech. Diplomacy is not cowardice. It is courage with intelligence. The public response was staggering. Thousands marched in Tel Aviv, not against Iran, but for peace. Candles lit the steps of the Knesset. Mothers, soldiers, rabbis, and children held signs that read, "Enough burials. Talk before bombs." In military circles, doubts brewed. A classified war simulation leaked. Estimated casualties on both sides were catastrophic. The IDF chief of staff delivered an honest report to the prime minister. If you strike, Iran will not strike back alone. And this time, Damascus, Baghdad, and maybe even Cairo may answer a call they've long ignored. Netanyahu remained silent, but his silence was no longer stall tactic. It was a reconsideration. Moscow's leverage. In the Kremlin, Putin's next move was chess, not checkers. Behind his hardened diplomacy lay a strategic pivot. Russia began formal talks to reinitiate arms control agreements with Iran, but with one condition. Tehran must allow third-party inspections monitored jointly by Russia and the UN. Foreign Minister Lavrov addressed the media. Trust is the only true missile defense. Russia seeks a world where balance is not defined by bombs, but by boundaries of dialogue. China endorsed the statement. India expressed interest in hosting a neutral summit. France, reluctantly, joined the chorus. The UK followed. It was a rare global crescendo in harmony. Putin, aware of the optics, ordered Russian state media to emphasize one word repeatedly: diplomacy. At the same time, Moscow discreetly increased cyber defenses and monitored Israeli air movements. Peace needed insurance. Iran's streets speak. Back in Tehran, something unexpected unfolded. Not in parliament, but in the streets. A viral video of an Iranian teenager holding a sign that read, "Not again," struck a national chord. In bazaars, old men debated the nuclear issue over chai and bread. Will our sons be scientists or martyrs? One asked. At Tehran University, students held a panel titled Atomic Identity or Atomic Extinction. For the first time, the nuclear debate wasn't about America or Israel. It was about Iran's soul. President Vahidi, flanked by advisors, listened carefully. If the people want restraint, we must not mistake that for weakness. A new Iranian proposal was drafted. Enrichment capped, inspections conditional, regional security, guarantees demanded. Putin's office received the document at 3 o'clock Moscow time. He poured himself a rare vodka. "History bends at dawn," he whispered. Story to continue in Chapter 10, deepening Russia's quiet emergence as a global peace broker, Africa's reaction to the diplomatic wave, and the unraveling of unseen sabotage in the shadows.